Hello everyone and welcome to the part 2 of me porting curl to my programming language called Hermes. Um, so I have a goal for today, and that is to be able to store the curl response in a string without having curl to print it every time you call it. So it should be stored in a variable instead. So we're gonna see um, how much progress we can do in this video. Hopefully we can finish that. Okay, so let's go to the project. We want to open up Hermes, and we want to open up Hermes curl. Okay. Now I will make another video as well where I implement enums into my programming language Hermes, because yesterday when I made the first curl video, we noticed that Hermes didn't have enums, so I wasn't able to port the curl option enum, because curl had a defined enum in their source code called curl option, and I would just like to port that whole thing over to Hermes. But to do that properly, I would need to implement enums in Hermes, and Hermes currently don't have enums. So anyway, let's continue where we were yesterday, and basically we got it all working. We can make requests, get requests. Now the problem is that curl just prints it. It doesn't store it in a variable. So I'm gonna look up some documentation, I guess. Curl curl C store response in string. I know there's like a clunky way of doing it. Yeah, you need to pass in a write function. So I'm thinking, how would I actually port that into Hermes? Curl code res. Right, curl res equals curl is perform. Right, I'm actually not porting over the curl code over to Hermes yet, but I'm gonna have to think about how to do that later. So this is actually kind of a difficult problem actually, because right now my curl implementation always expects a string here. So I'm gonna have to make that dynamic somehow. So here's my setup method. So this is the one that I would have to make dynamic somehow. How would I do that? Let me sip on some coffee while I think about that. And I could do something ugly above here, just temporarily, but that wouldn't be really satisfying. Let's look at this function in Hermes. Expect arg. I think I want to implement like an AST type called any. Let's add it here. I'm going to recompile Hermes. And I also need to take that into account in the function here. So if argc if args I is equal to AST any, then we're not going to do any type checking basically. We'll have fun. We'll get to work on Hermes a little bit as well. Okay, so now I should be able to do something like this. And then we could actually do this again, but now this can be dynamic, so lost type. And then we could do something like switch switch args items to actually one type. I think we need to do ASTT. We need to cast this like that, and then we can do case actually wait, it's the int value we want to cast or switch on int value. Case curl opt URL, then we're gonna do last arg type is equal to AST string. Break. We're gonna do case curl opt write function. You see, I'm only porting like partial stuff here right now. I'm gonna have to figure out a way later to port everything in a better way. AST. Now we are expecting some sort of write function here, so I wonder if Hermes even supports doing something like that. Function definition, function call, function definition. I actually think we could expect a variable there that reference to a function, I suppose. Something like that, and I'm just gonna add a default here as well. Default last word type is equal to AST any. And we also need to port so that we can actually retrieve that as an option. And this is also an ugly hack. I don't have an error checking here from right now. I'm just gonna do that for now. Okay. We're gonna need a switch here as well, I think. Wait. Curl will not know that the function being sent in is actually a function, because it's not going to be a function. I mean, it's going to be a Hermes function, but curl doesn't know about that. So it won't know what to do about it, basically, which is kind of annoying, I guess. I guess one way we could do this in the Hermes port is to make it always store the response in a variable. I don't see a case where you want to print it, because then you can just print the variable, I guess. Now, then the port will not be like true curl API, which is kind of ugly. But maybe I actually have to do that for now. I don't know. Unless there is some way to convert that Hermes function into an actual function. Well, actually, I think there is. We can sort of template this, I think. So if we take this write function here, actually, this is like a... The reason why they have this is kind of weird, but this is because in C you have to allocate strings on your own, but in Hermes you don't have to do that, so it doesn't actually make sense to port that type of behavior. So actually, let's not port the write function for now, actually. Sorry about that. I guess we can still have this because I actually think we're gonna need this later. But let's just remove the porting of the write function, actually. Let's keep it like that. And then I'm actually always gonna set the option to write func. Because that is actually the expected behavior in Hermes. So before we call easy perform, we're also gonna do this. And I'm gonna copy paste some code. So now that is being used there. And then we need to do this as well. Come on. And then we're gonna have a curl code thing, I guess. Actually, we don't really care about that in this case. We don't have proper error checking yet. Then we want to actually do this, sort of. What we want to do instead of that, we want to do we want to initialize a string. String is equal to init ast string string. The string value is equal to s dot pointer. And we want to return that string. Cool. So let's see if this compiles. It does not. Curl easy set opt. Right. Let's just do this. Curl code, it doesn't, what? Oh. There we go, it compiles. Let's see if we can use this in Hermes now. So we didn't actually define any new function, we just made this function return a string instead. So we're going to do string response is equal to. Now I don't expect Hermes to print anything except for the curl object. So examples curl, and that is what it's doing. Good. So let's print the response. Cool, so that works. Awesome. Cool, and it's behaving as a proper Hermes string. Great. That's awesome. Now, obviously, we're not done yet, but this was the goal for this video. So yeah, I'm gonna have to implement enums as well, because like I want to port this whole curl option enum, and I'm thinking this is probably an enum as well, maybe, or is it an integer? Let's just look that up actually. Yeah, it's an enum. So it's not possible to port that thing either to Hermes yet. Because Hermes don't have enums. But I'm gonna make a video where I implement enums in Hermes, I think. Because then also we can port the error handling, of course. Because I assume you use this curl code for error handling or something. But yeah, now we can store the curl response in a string in Hermes, and that was the goal. Awesome. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.